This is a presentation by Manuel Placencia and Ashton Potter on B.F. Skinner's behavioral learning theory. So who was B.F. Skinner? He was born on March 20th, 1904 in Susquehanna, Pennsylvania, and was credited for his behavioral learning theory. He came from a good family. His father was a lawyer and his mother was a housewife. As a boy, he was an inventionist. The first experience of behavioral science happened after his attending Hamilton College. He then later chose to become a writer. At the age of 24, he enrolled in psychology, in the psychology department at Harvard University, and studied behavior. In 1936, at the age of 32, he married Yvonne Blue and moved to Minnesota and took on his first teaching job. He would later develop the famous Project Pigeon, a secret project where he applied behavioral tests on pigeons to draw missiles towards moving targets.
Now, what's important about his earlier experiments? Skinner experimented with shaping the behavior of rats and pigeons to instructions that would bring about learning. Now that sounds familiar, doesn't it? His most famous project was Project Pigeon, also known as Project Orcon. Orcon stood for Organic Control. This was a secret project during World War II where he trained the behavior of pigeons to guide missiles to intended targets. He was able to modify their behavior by controlling at what instances the pigeons would peck at a screen, and that would help guide the missile to its target. Now, he believed in shaping. In shaping, you adapt what you ask of an animal to the animal's current performance. Some of the concepts that he followed was reinforcement, feedback, behavioral objects, and practice.
This is an overview of Project Orcon. This is a silent video that shows how they took pigeons and placed a metal object on their beak and allowed them to select the black moving dot. As it moved, they pecked towards the dot and were rewarded with feed if they accomplished the pecking of the dot. So as you can see, there's an apparatus that the pigeon was set inside of, and there was a moving target in front of the pigeon. So you see how it pecks at the black dot. After it does several times, a screen goes up and they are rewarded, or the pigeon is rewarded with food, and then the screen goes back down and they continue to aim. So it's learning to hit the black dot, which is, later on you'll see, will be the target that the missile will be aiming towards. So as the pigeon follows the target and continues to peck towards it, it's rewarded. This is a controlled behavior environment, and it's reinforced with the food that the pigeon receives. So as you can see, this is a different type of object that the pigeon is pecking towards. And what they're doing is training it to guide the missile later on down the line. You'll see in the video shortly. Again, the pigeon is rewarded for aiming towards the target. Now this is a different scenario where the pigeon is actually inside of the missile going towards the target, and it's guiding the missile by aiming towards it. as it was trained earlier in its controlled environment and reinforced. This actually is another pigeon, as the last one did not make it out of that scenario. So as you can see, the pigeons have been trained to guide the missiles directly towards the moving target in their controlled behavior.
Working in IDT. Now, he did a lot of other innovations, but we know him for working in IDT. He did other innovations, but what we know him for in our IDT field happened by pure accident while attending Father's Day in one of his child's 4th grade math class. While he was there, he observed the teacher teaching a class of 30. And when they were conducting a quiz or a lesson, he felt that the teacher was violating everything he knew about training from his experiments. The teacher was not giving immediate feedback from the kids' exercises. Skinner had researched delay of reinforcement and knew how it hampered performance. He believed the teacher was not teaching the kids adequately. So he asked himself, how do we immediately give kids feedback when there's 30 of them? There's no way a teacher can go and help each 30 student individually. That would be impossible. So he developed a learning machine that did just that. Skinner's first teaching machine simply presented problems in random order for students to do, with feedback after each question. The students were able to tell immediately if the answer was correct or incorrect. The following 10 years, he developed a smarter learning machine that was adapted to student learning and behavior, giving him less and less help as he went along through the instruction. He later created a class at Harvard called the Analysis of Behavior, where they created more machines. During this time, there were no computers, there were no microcomputers. So this was strictly a machine. During this time, the field of education embraced this newest teaching method, but many of the materials were poorly written, and no company wanted to design materials for teaching machines, especially if those machines would go out of production. So most program instructions was put into book form, but the book does not maintain the contingencies. Students can look at the answers before writing their own. Skinner believed that learning could be explained, predicted, and understood via observable events. In other words, the behavior of the learning.
Behavioral learning theory, example 1. So let's say a teacher wrote an equation such as 4 plus 3 on the chalkboard, and I chose one of my students to give an answer. If that student would answer 8,
That would be incorrect. Sorry.
that would be incorrect. Thank you, Manny. Now, if no feedback and reinforcement is given for the correct answer, then the student in class will continue believing that 4 plus 3 is indeed 8. How helpful would that be to learn if the students are not told that this is incorrect? This is where Skinner's research helped the learning process. He believed that the positive or negative feedback must be reinforced immediately. Only in this way can the learner know if the behavioral objective that was required from him or her was correct.
Well, Skinner's approach on learning are different from the other theorists or theories. Behavioral learning theory, final outcome is the same as the other theories. What's important to all these theories is that instruction will bring about learning. Psychologists define learning as a persistent change in human performance or performance potential. In ending, we felt that even though the theory is antiquated, it still holds some relevance. We always speak of positive reinforcement, and this is what Skinner believed in. Thank you.